On to the next. Now, that was all well and good, but the question is, what is our next hunt? Is it time for the buffalo? You know, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is time for the great water buffalo. The buffalo is a strong and powerful animal, capable of killing anyone with its horns or trampling even a car when charging. While herbivorous, it's a difficult prey, and principate hunters have been surprised by its sharp reactions and ending up as prey rather than predator. Of course, that won't scare the Reichskommissar. Just to be sure, he'll shoot from atop his helicopter. It feels a bit like the Roman Emperor Commodus, who hunted beasts in the arena from atop a platform. But if that's how he gets his fun, no, who are we to judge? You know? Housing investor. Oh. Oh dear. Trouble in whatever the heck. Steiner stooped to enter the bungalow. Inside was Reichskommissar Mueller, with a telegram in one hand, a cigar in the other, and his feet kicked up on a mobile desk. In the corner of a smoke-filled room, a wide-eyed native boy clutched a tuba, was butchering some piece of Volksschumneck, rendering it almost wholly unrecognizable. Opposite of him, one of Mueller's French chefs set to a more literal sort of butchering, and was hard at work gutting the kudu that Mueller had stalked all morning. Steiner took in the scene, and realized in a passing moment of lucidity that what fazed him the most was the fact that absolutely none of these signs fazed him in the slightest. God damn it, these lousy Swedes do whatever the hell they still believe in. Mueller slid the telegram to Steiner without even a hello. Steiner skimmed the details. A carefully planned rebel assault in Bukavu, 25 Swedish missionaries held for ransom, 7 native policemen dead already, and a full-scale hostage crisis underway. Bukavu is on our border with Ost. This should be Hutig's problem, not ours. Won't he have the men to help Steiner? All we have left that far north are the village idiots. All they've managed to do is get themselves killed. Steiner had to stifle a laugh, passing it on as a cough amidst the swirling cigar smoke. Even if Hutig were able to send the men, he'd just as soon order them to shoot the missionaries first. Nordic Aryans who had embraced the Reich, who still looked to Christianity, and worst of all, who still thought the natives had souls to save. If there was a boogeyman that kept Hutig up at night, Steiner mused, that had to be damn close. I'd suggest something more discreet, sir. Any official troop movements to the city risk warning our other clients out there, and open the door to rebel action elsewhere. Needless to say, the Swedes always pay us top dollar and on time for protection. Mueller ashed his cigar and stood up, walking around the desk to place a hand on Steiner's shoulder. The usual suspects it is, then. Let's send in the commandos. I'm sure you can sort this out, huh? After all, the customer is always right. With a laugh, Mueller grabbed his rifle and was out the door to his afternoon hunt in the vast steppes. But he had said enough, for Steiner knew just the man for the job. Well, what are the mercenaries renowned for, again? Manpower and defense, reliable. Let's go with Bob the Frenchman. The French seem to be a reliable sort, you know? Hopefully. Trustworthy, even, I'd say. Oh, dear. Colonel Bob Denard read the communique and thought first of his men. It would be hard to sell to move his 6th Commando, comprised of native Congolese command by Francophone officers, up to Bukavu. Born as a local defense unit, the Commando had evolved into one of the most fearsome counterinsurgency forces in the country. But until now, they had fought for their homes and their families. What would motivate them to die for strangers from different tribes who didn't even speak French? Money was a factor, of course, but it failed in comparison to Le Colonel. Colonel. Money was a factor of... Donald addressed his men with some stirring words as the Skull and Bones flag flew behind him. Though it hardly mattered, his men would have followed the colonel anywhere. They loved him just as he loved. They loved him as much as he loved them. On arriving at the siege, the assault was slow and deliberate. After careful reconnaissance and thorough planning, the rebels were flushed out room by room, and none were allowed to escape. Afterwards, as Denard wrote his report, he shed a tear for each of his fallen men. Too many. But he kept his eye on his duty. His first draft of report had dwelled on the details and casualty counts, but Denard wadded it off and threw it away. He was giving too much away. He knew his competitive advantage in the business was secrecy. Besides, it was not like those out-of-touch bureaucrats in Leopoldville would give a damn about what he wrote. He heard all the rumors, of course, that Mueller often worked the whole night through and even slept in his office rather than leave his post, but he knew the truth. Out here, the only law was jungle law. After several drafts, he finally felt the message was crisp, curt, and vague enough to send. Denard had done an admirable job, for Mueller had just enough time to read the report in between two shrimp cocktails at Friday's soiree with investors. Eyeing up the guest, he gave the note a perfunctory glance before checking the time. 3 a.m. already? As he used a message to wipe the cocktail sauce off his fingers, he wadded up and turned to face his guests, the music, and Frau Mittinghurst's stunning ass. By 6 a.m., he passed out drunk in his office as the dawn broke. He wouldn't leave until tea time at noon. My God. I'm guessing it didn't go terribly then? I don't know. Oh. But what I do know is that, it's time for some buffalo hunt, boys and girls. Buffalo. 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 Rather cumbersome beast. I'm guessing we'll go with old and reliable. We don't have to worry about necessarily. And if it messes up, we'll just reload a save, you know? The Reichskommissar was sipping one of his special icy cold lemon drinks when determination took hold of him. He wanted to expand his trophy collection, which he hadn't aged as well as he had down here. A buffalo would be his next target, an animal whose weirdly shaped horns always made for a naughty laugh in his mind. It was a typical African savanna animal, but most importantly, it was heavy by nature, and its horns were impressive nonetheless. In his office, he pondered over the map where every mark his scouts had made were centralized for posterity. He swiftly identified the two spots he preferred for their plentifulness of the animals. He had to choose. On the one hand, his choice fell on the Bas Ule, a vast savanna that was a patchwork of grass and steppe. Far to the northeast of the Congo Lake, a long flight might pay off with a broad plentifulness of the animals. Savannah there made for a perfect breeding ground. On the other hand, his choice fell on the Likoala province, located on the northwest of Congo Lake, a flight that would lead along the shores. It was a rather swampy region and was known to be inhabited by a particular species of buffalo. He now had to choose where he would find the most impressive game and where he would have the most luck with the great buffaloes. I think we go with swamp. Am I gonna make... I'm not gonna make a Shrek joke. Never mind. The great buffalo. The hunt is ready. They're neatly stowed. I think this is the same event, just for the buffalo instead. Yeah. Buffalo soldier. We're closing in, Reichskommissar. Finally, the pilot's word saved him. Already before, the helicopter soared. Ahead was Likula. On the western bank of the Congo Lake, it held thousands of miles of pristine rainforest, untouched by human habitation. The forest had a rich biodiversity of 300 bird species, plus 1,000 plant and tree species, which included endangered mahoganies. But the forests were not of much concern to Mueller, and since there weren't buffalo around there, buffalo could be found in the more mountainous northern area, which is where they were headed. One of the companions joined him on the skid, shouting despite the noise. "How do you want to proceed? You seem to have gathered the essential details about the spot by now. The buffalo should be in those riverbanks." Fine question, be sure. Should we fly lower for a closer look, or would it give away their element of surprise? We're a good enough shot. Let's stay high. I'm sure we can surprise them. Alright. Siegfried Mueller was aiming with a steady hand. He didn't want all this neat planning, all these efforts for the nonce. He was concentrated as ever when he was hunting, searching for the perfect target. The crosshairs becoming an extension of his eyeballs. There it was. The adrenaline set in and rushed for his veins, through his veins at the speed of light. Standing in the shallowy waters of a small pond whose spring seemed to have gone dry recently, the big, hefty body of the mighty buffalo appeared in the crosshairs. Sluggish movement of a brown pelage sprinkled with water made Mueller smile. He hovered over the bullish animal with his reticles for some time. Finally, his horns, shaped in impressively huge curls, appeared right in the middle. He had his desired target. The other smaller bystanding buffaloes were quickly erased from his mind. Should his companion concern himself with him, he would go for this one. One last adjustment, he was ready. Now he held his breath and counted down in his head like always. Drei. Zwei. He closed his eyes. Eins. Shoot! Yeah! Let's go! The bullet hit the buffalo's breast in an ensuing feast of blood and gore. The beast wasn't felled immediately. Still pumping veins in the chest splattered the whole pond, turning it a dark red in an instant. The buffalo fought and wriggled uncontrollably, making the impression it was ruptured by a wild predator. Just in the vicinity of Mueller's ear, another shot was fired, swiftly pursued by another one. He himself shot again as well, delivering the ultimate blow. The bystanding buffalo were gone by then, one limping in the distance from one of his companion's shots. They approached the dead animal on the ground, step after step. Mueller's grin widened. Barely a meter from it, he cluelessly shot in the air as a harbinger of his overexcitement. He had slain a big buffalo for a long time. This particularly rare specimen's gargantuan horns were about to adorn the halls of his palace and bestow upon it the beautiful, impressive appearance his grand collection still lacked. Mueller quickly took hold of his senses again. He tried to pull it out of the water, but had to give up on that. Instead, they let it rest in the water, for they only wanted the special trophy. Let another predator take the meat. Agreed. Oh, we got another focus. Let's prepare across the savannah. Savannah, covering the north and eastern parts of Zentralafrika before it becomes desert, are surely filled with interesting prey, or so the Reichskommissar believes. He has mounted a geographical expedition to chart the areas still untouched by man, or more precisely by his helicopter, to find out the more abundant in wild game. Clearly, for once, he managed to convince the corporate entrepreneurs to pay everything by having his prospectors follow cartographers. Should any new ore vein be discovered, the right to exploit them will be very lucrative indeed. Let's start, shall we? Oh man. There it was, perfectly in place. The equally beautifully and impressively shaped horns fit there excellently, yet Mueller still grinned at how awkward they looked on any buffalo's head. Funny yet powerful, the grand collection, still in its shabby early stages, and skillfully adorned with such noble horns, complemented each other flawlessly. The buffalo's head promised to be any visitor's favorite already from a far distance. Mueller liked it. He looked at the positioning of the head and took another sip of his drink. The Reichskommissar crossed his arms and proudly contemplated his work. He had slain the beast. What a story to tell. No one could flee it now, with the beautiful buffalo's head being the story's sentinel. The impressive look reminded him of how many of Africa's tracks will once embellish his palace, but he was far from being finished. Let's see. Ooh! Oh, that is stunning. That is beautiful right there. Man. I like that. That is great. Mmm. Mmm. What do we want to do now? Too worried. We could invite Richard Kasalovsky is who's the heir of, obviously, Richard Kalasovsky, prominent industrialist and proud National Socialist, Nationalsozialist Deutsche Arbeiterparty. Probably butchered that, but what are you going to do? Party member. He's not well known by the public, but he's one of our main investors. Might as well please the investors then, you know? Oh wow, this is I didn't notice this. We have a whole little hunting thing. That is pretty nifty. Damn. Hunting is the ultimate sport. Oh. Richard Kasalovsky Jr. stepped out of his business jet and onto the grounds of a private hangar in Leopoldville Airport. His flight had been uneventful, with a little turbulence over Egypt, but now he was here in Central Africa. He was ready to do what he came here for. Richard Jr. was under no illusions why he was here. His father, Richard Kasalovsky, was a manager of the Oedeker Group, a conglomerate that had interest in everything from shipping to banking to publishing to chemicals and, most prominently, to cooking. Every store in the pack would have a box of Dr. Oetker baking soda for sale, and probably more items from the company. Richard Sr. was also a prominent member of the Nazi Party, and had achieved some impressive ranks in the organization. Therefore, impressing him would be a must for the colonial government. Of course. He knew exactly what would happen next. He met with a few officials, but most of the time, the government would keep him at this resort in Hitlersburg and give him as good a time as they could. Then he would go back to his father and explain how nice this Reichskommissariat was. The money to support would come in, and the authority here would benefit. This was fine with Richard Jr. A vacation was a vacation, and nothing was really free. An official greeted him as soon as he got off, informed him that a private helicopter was available to take him to his accommodation in Hitlerstadt. Richard Jr. thanked him and told the ground crew he was ready to go there right away. As he watched reporters move his luggage to the heliport, he wondered if his siblings and half-siblings would be getting a similar deal sometime soon. If it doesn't work, we might just do that. There we go. We got the Verona Conference. Very interesting. We'll see what happens in Italia. Ooh. Richard didn't know what to think about his time in Africa as he flew on the private helicopter back to Leopoldville. There was plenty of opportunities for relaxation. He took every one of them, but there could have been more. Far more. Nothing in this resort warranted a complaint. The food and drinks were excellent with a variety of local and German cuisine. The suite was clean and spacious. The staff was extremely attentive as well. The view of the lake was nice. The boating activities on there were enjoyable. Not that he spent the entire trip on the ground resorts. The Reichskommissar was eager to show him the less touristish places by taking him around the colony on various safaris, but ended with a large number of animals under observation dead. But he still had something that irked him. What? This visit was supposed to be one reserved for noble and well-off people, wasn't it? Then why wasn't there much to do for the well-off travelers? Oh, that motherfucker. Hitlerstadt lacked much amenities when one left for resort grounds, he was told. No high-class dining was to be found there, no specialty clothing or furniture shops were available to shop at, and no other hotels or resorts to stay at were around the caliber of the one he stayed at. He'd tell his father that the things in Africa were fine, but he should consider more luxury options if they wanted to continue to cater to the upper class. You motherfucker, we built you a resort in the Congo. What do you fucking... we're getting bonuses anyway. It doesn't matter. We'll consider your feedback, sir. As long as they give us money, that's all I care about. a conference end. Ernst and his unit had found what they were seeking for, the lair of the lions whose traces they had been deducting for the last hours. He called it a halt. And smiled at them. Exactly what the Reichskommissar was hoping for. He called for a map and marked the region on it. Hopefully the others were just as successful. We'll return now. They carefully stowed their equipment and suddenly skulked out of the breast-high bushes. The savannah. Ernst liked it here. Though sweating as if he was running, not walking, he enjoyed the sound of a sand squash beneath his boots. He was fascinated by the wildlife here, by the sparse vegetation, by the games the heat was playing here. He liked it, although he didn't exactly know why. But he knew why the Reichskommissar had sent them there. They took off with nearly 24 helicopters from Leopoldville, all in the same direction, but soon sprayed into different regions. All of them gargantuan helicopters packed with veteran garrison troops of a scouting corps to search for the best hunting spots in the region, with the best game. It was diverse here, from the gentle giants to majestic beasts. They had arrived at the position they had agreed upon on time. With the helicopters had flown off to scout for impressive animals from the sky, several smaller squadrons of 3 men were to track down the animals on the basis of their paths on the ground respectively. The other 2 squadrons seemed lucky as well, and when they arrived at Leopoldville, the early morning, all but one of the helicopter crews had numerous markings on the map. The Reichskommissar was pleased. Indeed. Okay, so now the question is, what are we hunting next? We could go for Noble Kudu. Let's go for kudu, guys. Let's go for it. Kudus are solitary animals of the antelope species, though very common and with a preference for fleeing rather than fighting. They are incredibly fast and can run for almost an hour without rest, making them difficult prey to snipe. Also, their long, coiled horns are beautiful. 1 or 2 heads would surely make a fine appearance on the fireplace around Mueller's personal mansion. Of course. Let's go after the kudu. Kudu you voodoo, bitch. Old man Hitler is still alive. Kinda funny how that works, but... Well, he dies in 63. Late 63. So we got time to keep hunting. Okay. Again, we're saving. If we don't get it, I'm gonna flip out. Kudu, you voodoo bitch. Okay, modern perfect kill. Hunt swift and effective. We'll need a modern and swift then. And then, Sigrid Mueller was lying on the terrace of Reichskommissar's palace to enjoy the cool evening breeze as a diversion from his usual evening routine. He didn't return early to the adjacent palace today because he was still wondering from earlier on how to expand his trophy collection 1 floor down. He finally knew now. A kudu. Savannah animals famed for their exalted appearance thanks to their impressive cornets. Sometimes man-tall colossi of horns shaped into slight springs. For their whole outward appearance, Mueller used to call them Africa's deer with uncomplex and more impressive cornets. In his office, he pondered over the map where every mark his scouts had made were centralized for his posterity. He swiftly identified the 2 spots he preferred for the plentifulness of the animals. He had to choose. On the one hand, there was the border territory of the Lower Chad, Savannah, crossing directly into the region frequently bombed from Windhoek. But so close to his own territory, no bombardments were conducted. Well, he could also ask for bombings to be stopped at the Chad region. The Savannah is made for the animals' preferred terrain, and thus a great hunting spot. On the other hand, the Kunain province, located deep into Reichskommissar's Reichskommissariat Südwest Africa's center, a flight that could surely be equally long and satisfying. His fellow Reichskommissar surely wouldn't mind him hunting there. Besides, someone had to keep his friend's wildlife in check. He had to choose now where to find the most impressive game and where he would have most luck with the kudus. Let's see what we got now. What are our odds right now? 57% as of now. There we go. I think Lower Chad. Ooh, our odds only went up 60%. I don't like that. I don't like that, guys. Let's talk to our friends in Francais. Even though the Free French remnants of west of Central Africa are still formally enemies of the Reich, de Gaulle, having never accepted the peace treaty declaring the defeat of the Allies, Mueller has a personal friend there, Jacques Massot, a general of the French army who served for decades in the French African colonial troops and later joined de Gaulle's government in exile. During the war, he and the future Reichskommissar formed a gallant relationship, each impressed by the other's acumen, and when the war ended, the friendship developed into a brotherhood forged in fire and blood. Even though Mueller had regularly kept in touch with his French friend, it might be time to renew the bond in person, and knowing their shared love for hunting, the Reichskommissar knew what might do the trick. Let's get the Frenchies. Mueller took his leave on Rolf Steiner, entrusting him with the necessary authorities for the time of the Reichskommissar's absence. He then greeted his neatly assembled hunting crew beyond the confinements of a governing complex, a veteran of the garrison and two native of a Waffen-SS, a mercenary familiar with the hunting spot, and a local track. Alright, that's right. We're on again. The hunt merely beckons. We're closing in, Reichskommissar. Finally. The pilot's words saved him from da-da-da. The helicopter soared ahead was a patchwork of bush and grass. This was exact... This was... I thought I heard something. I don't know. It was a patchwork of bush and grass. This was what had formerly been known as the lower area of Chad, known as a wetter spot of an infamously dry colony. This area had held a small amount of rainforest that fell into the Congo Delta, but they weren't there for that. They were there for the woodland savannas and a deciduous forest that were just to the north. There they would find a kudu with nice horns to poach. One of his companions joined him on the skids, shouting despite the noise, "How do you want to proceed? You seem to have gathered the essential details about the spot by now. The kudu are obviously on the grasslands." Fine question, to be sure. Should we fly lower for a closer look, or would that give away the element of surprise? The hunt just might be decided in this instance. Well, we don't want to alert them. I think we should stay high. We got 70% chance. There it was. In the group of four, the kudus were grazing on the confined scrap of savanna grass. The graceful body of one of them appeared in the crosshairs. He went to the right and found its head. He hovered over the noble animal and was reticle for some time. Its cornets were amazing, huge and impressive, just as he had hoped. He had his desired target. The other kudus were of no concern to him. Their horns were still developing. Should his companion concern themselves with one, he would go for this one. One last adjustment. He was ready. He started counting down in his head, like always. Try. He held his breath. Zwei. He closed his eyes. Eins. He shot. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. The bullet hit the kudu's limbs. It collapsed to one side in painfully feral shrieks. The wound turned the sand it fell on red, while the rest of the group swiftly took to flee the scene. As the kudu tried to run limpingly, they fired 2 successive shots. Blood spattered as the deer-like thing collapsed again. It struggled on. Another shot. This time the collapse was eternal, bringing an end to the kudu's loud noises. They approached the dead animal on the ground, step after step. Mueller's grin widened. He was happy beyond belief. He had slain some kudus before, during the time of the Cameroon conflicts, yet never since. Gladly, this particular rare specimen's sublime horns were about to ornament the halls of a palace and bestow upon it the beauty and grandeur these cornets boasted. Mueller quickly took hold of horns, grinning between them as his men. He tried to pull at them to prove their robustness. His men were impressed. Because some of them had never seen a kudu before, Mueller and the mercenary instructed them on how to give a trophy. The trophy was certainly worth their efforts. Well, what isn't? Am I right? The kudu in the palace. There it was, perfectly in place. The equally beautifully and impressive shaped horns fit there excellently. Mueller still grinned at how much more sublime his grand collection became in the instant. Courtesy of a kudu's head, exalted and powerful, the grand collection, still in shabby early stages, and a skull adorned with such noble horns, complemented each other flawlessly. The kudu's head promised to impress each and any visitor Mueller hosted. He liked it. He looked at the positioning of the head, perfectly placed, and proudly contemplated his work. He'd slain the beast. What a story to tell. No one can flee it now with a sublime kudu's head, being the incarnation of a hunting tale worthy to tell. The imposing look let the Reichskommissariats drift into hunter's fantasy, already contemplating a complete trophy collection. But for that, he had to still wait. Ooh. Ooh, that is great. That is wunderbar. I am very, very satisfied with that one. What else do we have, really? We have a noble lion, of course. And then the mighty elephant. We have like 4 or 5 other fucking animals. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 animals we can go after. But for now, I think it is time to stop the stream. I'm having fun. I'm having fun, but I think it's getting kind of late. I figured it's about time to cut it. We have about 4 parts filmed. If anyone wants to rewatch it, if they joined late or they had to leave early, if you had to leave early, I guess you're not here right now. I guess if you rejoined. If you left at any part, the streams are going to be going live on YouTube. I'm waiting for my guy to make thumbnails, and then I'll start uploading them. What else? I'm also uploading just a normal South Africa run, where I kind of just play a bit more seriously. I'm not worrying about army or stuff or anything like that. Because god damn it, I want my damn collection filled. I want my trophy room filled. And that's all I really want in this world, guys. Really. Anywho. That's about it, guys. So, yeah. Thanks again for all my new followers who hopped in. I don't know if you guys are still around, but if you are, thank you again. I'll probably go live tomorrow. If not, then day after. So, yeah. Thanks for watching as always, guys, and, see you around. Bye-bye.